Welcome, Erie Expedition. I'm your host, Gio. Today's format's going to be a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be basically telling you a story and telling you about some of my findings when it comes to this subject that we're about to cover. It's something that hasn't been covered on my channel very much, and it has to do with what we call Bigfoot, what we call Sasquatch, and what we call Yeti. And according to David Paulides and the research that he's done, and if you guys don't know who David Paulides is, he's the individual that came up with the book called Missing 411. It has been featured on Netflix. It's been featured on Amazon Prime, I believe. I could be wrong, but it was on multiple platforms at one time. You can find multiple clips on YouTube. And I met David Paulides actually in Vernal, Utah when I went to Phenomicon, and I picked up one of his books. This is the book right here. It's called Bigfoot, Wild Men, and Giants, and this is the archive articles 1680 through 1925, third edition. And the funny little fact about meeting David Paulides is I was wearing a name tag that said George because of the fact that I was actually filling Darren's father's spot because he couldn't make it. And so I ended up utilizing Darren basically gifted me his pass to attend Phenomicon, and I got to meet David Paulides, and because I was wearing a name tag that said George on it, he ended up writing, "George, follow the facts." Which is funny because my name's not George, it's Gio. At least that's what I go by. So while I was at Phenomicon, I met an individual who actually I ended up purchasing this painting that's right there. That painting. And it's basically about a story I'm going to be telling right now and going to be showing you later a clip of that encounter. It is highly controversial. At the time that the video clip was given to me, I was told actually not to share it online. However, in the recent months, weeks, the video is now hitting Reddit, and I feel as an investigator, I need to tell my side of the story since there's a lot of confusion about where the video is coming from and the story behind the video. That photo is basically about a video that shows something. It's very inconclusive what it is, but in my opinion, it looks like possibly a Bigfoot eating something. Blood gets splurt all over its face, and it brushes the blood off its face, and then it even reaches over, and you see this very long arm reach, which is really weird. And so I wanted to tell my side of the story as well as sharing a story from David Paulides' book that, in my opinion, kind of ties it all together. The video that was given to me, the original story was it was filmed by a hunter in the Uinta Basin area, and he was out hunting and came across a creature through his scope. He was kind of freaked out about it and captured the footage through his scope, once he came down from the mountain, he showed it to his friend, who then showed it to me. Has kind of gone missing. People can't find him. He's maybe okay. I'm not trying to put out the fact that maybe he's been taken or anything like that, or he's been harmed, but I think he doesn't want anyone to talk to him about it. For me, when I was given the video footage, I did look at the metadata associated with the file, and the file indicated that the video had a GPS coordinate of Chile, in the mountains of Chile. And that kind of goes against the story of it being in the Uinta Basin. Now it gets weirder, because on Reddit, and while I was in Phenomicon a couple of days after receiving the video, I was told by that individual and by another investigator that the story is actually about a possible sheriff who encountered this being, and he had dogs with him, and what the creature is actually eating is actually one of the dogs that was with him. On Reddit, it's a similar story where it's these two individuals were out hiking and they were with their dogs. They lost their dogs for a second. They then saw this creature eating something, and due to the fact that their dogs were missing, they decided to take that opportunity and venture towards where that creature was. The creature was now gone, and they ended up finding the collar of their dog to further verify the fact that what this creature was eating was actually its dog. That's the other story to it. The footage I will be sharing so you could see for yourself. Some people believe it's fake, so I will throw that out. I will not throw that out, but I will say that some individuals have indicated that it might be fabricated or it could be edited. There seems to be a jump. I don't see the jump. Some people do. Even viewing the footage through my software, I don't see the jump. And the file has no metadata indicating that it was edited. So the jury's out for you guys to decide what you guys think it might be. And so I'm now going to take this opportunity to tell you a story about Nevada, mainly because that's the state that I reside in, and that's where I do a lot of my research, and it's where I've actually have had an encounter with something. The noises that I have heard up in the Nevada region, out in the not near the city by any means. This is like 3 to 4 hours away from the city, but in Nevada. I've heard and recorded, which is on my channel, sounds of whoops that sound very animalistic but also human at the same time. It's happened to me multiple times that I've been at Mount Wilson, to the point where we've tried to bring better recording equipment and this thing will go silent the second we hit record. What David Politis has pointed out was, in his honest opinion, he believes these are hybrid humans. These are half man, half animal. And the reason why he believes that is because of the research that he conducted, which is in this book. That's why it says Bigfoot, wild men, and giants, because originally, in a lot of the articles dated back to, well, in this book, 1680, wild men was the term that was utilized to describe these beings, or whatever they are, interacting with not modern human, but domesticated human, let's say. So I'm going to tell you the story, okay? The story is called Wild Man in Nevada. So this says Mineral Point Weekly Tribune. Ascent of him by eyewitness. And this says, from Pine News, July 1st, Eyewitness News. The people inhabiting the northwestern part of Nevada are at present in an intense state of excitement over the supposed discovery of the traces and habitations of a lost or wild man. Rumor located it upon a high and densely wooded mountain near the Uinta line, and after gathering all the information that we could, we armed and equipped ourselves for a trip to the location described, about 50 miles from our camp at the sink of Deep Creek. After a tiresome ride and 2 days over the mountain and through one of the wildest and roughest, rigorous of this wild and rough country, we came in sight of and camped near the eastern slope of the mountain. All were now upon the quiver for some sight of the strange inhabitant. We had just picketed our animals and sat by the fire telling strange experiences of the frontier life, when we were aroused by a crashing sound caused by the swift approach of some strange-looking body coming towards the camp. Just at this moment, the moon shone through the clouds and almost as brilliant as the sun at noonday. We had a splendid view of the object. It is undoubtedly a white man, about 40 years old, nearly covered with a coat of fine long hair and in appearance otherwise not at all startling. He carried in his right hand a huge club, and in his left a rabbit of some other animal. He caught sight of us and almost instantaneously as the sun shone out, and with a scream like the roar of a lion, and brandishing his club, dashed past the camp and attacked the horses in a perfect frenzy of madness. We at this time could have shot him, but for the fact of the surprise of the moment, and ere we were armed, we armed our animals, and it's kind of hard to read, but it says, and ere we were armed our animals stampede, and he was after them like the wind down the mountain. We endured this whim to swoon our dogs after him, which, being savage and well trained, we had counted upon to assist in this capture. But with distended eyes, they sat mutely gazing into the darkness, and neither blows nor kindness could move them to the chase. And the only resource we had was to throw up a hasty rampart of logs and then station guards to prevent a surprise by the infuriated demon. Occasionally, through the long watches of the night, all hands were aroused by this terrible cries, and thus, in momentary expectation of an attack, we passed the night. Morning dawned at last, and not one would leave the camp until the rosary sunlight cheered the landscape. When we took the trail of our horses, after having made securely our accoutrements and provisions, except a lunch for a few days' journey, they had torn down the mountain at a terrible speed for about 5 miles. Here, they jumped down a sheer precipice about 25 feet, disabling my saddle horse. He was lying near the bottom, mangled in a shocking manner. The wild man had evidently vented his rage upon my disabled horse, and as large stripes of skin were torn off and thrown to some distance, and his lower jaw was broken. We shot him to end his suffering. The wild man bad here given up the pursuit. About 2 miles further down the valley, we found the rest of our stock quietly grazing. The only marks they bore were evidently made by being caught by the tails by the wild man in the chase, entirely stripping some of them of hair and skin. We now had some 6 miles to go to reach our first camp. Arrived there at 3 o'clock, when we took lunch. After examining our arms, we started in the direction for which the wild men approached, and were fortunate enough to strike his trail, while the well-defined footprints of a man who would wear number 9 shoes, but being very broad on the bottom. That's, you hear that a lot. That type of, the type of foot. And the other thing that I'm noting is how he describes it as a demon. So we went from a wild man to now being described as a demon. In all intents and purposes, I guess they're just trying to indicate this is a very angry, wild-looking man, though, not animal. We followed his trail for about 3 miles when the gorge opened on a beautiful basin, and a half mile further the trail ended abruptly at the entrance of a cave. We explored this cave, finding a set of soldier buttons and a dime dated 1841, which leads me to the conclusion that he was a man lost from Fremont's command in 1846 or near that time. And then that's the end of the article. What I find most interesting about all this is there's a similar story that some of you have maybe come across on YouTube, and it's about I believe it's called the Afghanistan Giant, and they describe when they enter this cave where this whatever it is was, it also had remnants of clothing from their platoon, but also from older soldiers and countries. This sounds similar, where my brain is saying that wasn't belonging to him. That was probably a person that he had taken to the cave and maybe eaten. And the reason why I'm thinking this way is because it also reminds me of Lovelock Cave here in Nevada. And this was in Nevada, where Lovelock Cave is a story about the Paiute Indians warring against giants, and then it got to the point where the giants were taking children and women and eating them, and so the Indians banded together and they forced these giants into a cave, and then they set fire to the cave, killing majority of the giants, it seemed like. And there's stories later of a pioneer venturing into Lovelock and finding Bakwana, and once they start digging out the Bakwana, that's when they find a sandal, bones that are large in stature that seem to be belonging to one of these beings or creatures, whatever they might be. For me, I have always been on the fence when it came to Bigfoot. I've never seen one. I've seen a lot of other very odd paranormal things, but I've never physically seen a Bigfoot. However, I've never been deep into the woods looking for these type of creatures. And just hearing the story, they're riding through horseback through some rigorous mountain countryside to get to this camp area where they believe this creature is, and then eventually they follow it further, day 2, and that's when they come across this cave. The person I met in Vernal, Utah, he also describes a nice cave in the Uinta where there's also bones, like, again, where these things are possibly hiding out in caves. And at the foot of the caves is where you kind of will find a lot of the whatever they're eating, whatever it might be. I do plan to go out with an individual in sometime. We're kind of getting closer to winter, so I don't know. My truck will make it. However, I whether or not that person's up for it, it might have to wait till March or when the sun kind of comes back, or when that area no longer has snowfall. But now I'm thinking of the encounter I've had where I believe we've heard tree knocks at one time, and that blood curdling screams that he's describing, I've heard something similar to that. And once you hear these, whatever they are, calling out, it will change you. It will make you, at least some of you, will make you start to wonder and maybe even start to research for yourself. The people I met in Utah, the stories are just so interesting. I could tell you one last little story, and this has to do with something that was happening up in near Salt Lake City. And the story is that there was a rogue creature that had burrowed itself under a freeway pass. And this was in an area that was a very rich part of Salt Lake City, I believe near Park City, Utah. And the military came in and carted or boarded off the roads. And to most people, they thought there's just a lot of construction happening. However, the story I was told is they went in to execute this creature and remove it because of the fact that it was causing havoc in the area. I've had people who were driving through that region and recounted that, seeing the military being there, large vehicles, and they too were like, if this is some sort of construction going on, like, why is the military here? And they found that very odd. But that's what I've been hearing up in Utah, is that there are these encounters with these beings that, unfortunately, people go missing. Maybe possibly get eaten by these creatures. I've heard that there are both good and bad creatures. But a lot of the creatures that don't have a family, they go rogue. That's usually when things kind of go south. And so now I'm going to be sharing with you the videos. And the first video is going to be the original video. The second video is going to be enhanced, color corrected, so things are kind of popping out more. And then the third video is color corrected, but also in slow motion. So remember, in my opinion, have an open mind when it comes to this topic. And if you're into reading or researching this topic even more, I highly suggest you pick up David Pilates' books. This one is a great book. I know that this one had a print for a little bit and it went back into print. I don't know if it's still available. It might not be. But definitely watch his documentaries. They're very good. They might scare you to the point where you might never want to go out. So, full disclosure. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, peace, love, and chicken grease. Later, guys. Oh, by the way, like, comment, subscribe. Also, we have merch. We have, so far, just t-shirts and hoodies. This money will be used to further research for Erie Expedition. At the end of the year, we will be taking a small portion of the proceeds and donating it towards a foundation that is looking to further the research for mental health. Mental health is something that unfortunately has been affecting our country a lot lately, especially after the pandemic. And there are a lot of young children right now who are suffering from mental health. And there's also an aspect of mental health that I don't really agree with when it comes to schizophrenia and it comes to the ways that they have been treating it. It has changed where I don't believe they might be. I have to research this, but at one time they would just turn you into a vegetable and call you good. that to me was something that I always was scared about as a kid, with the fact of me seeing all the things that I was seeing, and I'm told that these things aren't real. However, I feel vindicated because I have had these experiences with other people, and that's when things do change, in my opinion. When you have an experience and it's just you, yes, that could be very troubling, and I do highly suggest you to seek help. But when you have an experience and someone else is there having an experience with you, I don't believe that's just your brain creating things. There are some who might disagree with me, and that's for you to decide. There's even one I love to talk about that has to do with the 3 children in Italy. It was a very famous case in the Catholic Church where these 3 young girls, saw what they believe, what I believe too, was the Virgin de Guadalupe, the Virgin Mary. And she came down and spoke to these kids and gave them a premonition for the future. Part of it was that was kept a secret for many years, and it was finally revealed. And it was revealed that they said when the last pope dies, that's when Jesus will be coming back. That's, to some people, they believe that was mass hysteria because there were thousands of people who saw a sun dancing around. And some will say that 1,000 people had mass hysteria seeing that. I don't believe that. I believe something really did happen. I believe that she really did show herself to those children, and those people did have a miracle experience. I've had an experience like that, and luckily my wife was there with me. So here are the shirts. And they are very soft. This shirt I'm wearing right now is actually very cheap quality, very thick, heavy. This is soft, 100% cotton, very light. It will shrink. So for me, I'm a medium. I am a like 5'6", 5'5.5", someone say, well, 5'6", I say. I'm, most would say skinny. And a medium fits me perfect. It was a little long, but after washing it fits perfect. If you feel like you might need a large, I have large, extra large. You just have to go to my channel. You'll see the link for Shopify for Erie Expedition. And then these are the hoodies. These are extremely warm. Like, I will put this on and then like, oh shit, like it's too hot. But they're so comfy. They're very, 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 very warm and soft, and have a really good feel to it. So both of those, check out at Erie Expeditions apparel page. We are going to be doing glow in the dark apparel, and eventually we're going to do some bicycle caps. If I love bicycle caps. I actually don't own any, which is funny that I'm going to be making them and I'd say I love them because I don't know. I've always wanted to sport them and I never did. I don't know why. They're not really something you can even find. So I don't know. Maybe that could be a problem. Thanks again. Love and peace. Thanks again for tuning in to Erie Expedition. I am your host, Gio. Have a good night. Later.